Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Socorro, Texas. It is today's the 12th, right? Yeah, March 12th, 2024. It is 5:32 p.m. We call this meeting to order.
Good afternoon. Item number 2, establishment of quorum. Andrew Arroyos,
Here.
Enrique Cisneros,
Here.
David Estrada,
Here.
Julie Dominguez. Here. Osvaldo Reza, absent. Yolanda Rodriguez. Here. We have a quorum with 5 commissioners present. Item number 3, notice to the public, open forum. Raul, do we have anyone that would like to speak?
No.
Thank you. Item number 4, consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Do I have a second? All those, I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyos to approve and second by Julie Dominguez. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Item number 7, consider and take action on the approval of a final plan for Valle Nuevo Unit 1, being a portion of tracks 1B, 1B1, 1C, 1D, 1D3, 1H, 2A, 2C1, 4A, 2B, 4B1, 4B2, 4C, 6A, 6B, and 6C, Block 5, Socorro Grand, Socorro, Texas, and a variance to allow for lots smaller than 6,000 square feet. Ms. Lurie?
Thank you, Miriam. Commission Chairman and Commission members, good evening. Lorraine Guimito, City Planner. This is an item that we are revisiting from last week at the request of the Commission. We tabled the item as there were a lot of questions regarding the variance, and just to, as a start off the item, I want to just and Marwan can correct me if I'm wrong, this is the final plat. This has already been approved at the Planning and Zoning Commission, at City Council, as stated, and that's why it's worded as such on this agenda. But this is just the next step in finalizing the plat. They're not really requesting the variance again. It was already approved. And I just wanted to make that point before I just continue. But I will disclose all of the differences in the timeline for the preliminary, this whole subdivision plat, as it kind of did take a little while to make it through the process. There were several items that needed to be coordinated across different agencies. Again, a challenge that we do have here in Socorro as we develop the Lower Valley Water District, water and sewer outside of the city's purview. Irrigation district, there are 2 irrigation canals that are in this property. North Loop Drive, coordination with TxDOT. So this did take a little while, so if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. The property owner, Valle Nuevo LLC, is here. The representative, Jorge Escarate with CEA Group, is here also to answer any questions. The lot is 56 acres in size. It is zoned R2 and C2. The current land use is vacant, and the future land use map is single-family residential and commercial. This preliminary plat was approved by P&Z on October the 5th, 2021. And the request is for approval of the final plat, Valle Nuevo Unit 1, with a variance request for lots under 6,000 square feet. Planning and zoning staff recommends approval of the final plat and allow for the variance for the lot smaller than the 6,000 square feet. Oh, wrong way. The property is located off of North Loop Drive, just between Inglewood and Nuevo Hueco Tanks. The extension of Nuevo Hueco Tanks will run through this property. Here is the zoning map showing in a red bold the area for the subdivision plat. It is zoned R2 and commercial fronting North Loop. It is surrounded by a mixture of agriculture and industrial to the north. Across the street of North Loop, there's the large ICMUD zoning district. To the south, it's largely residential with a mix of R1, R2, and R3. These are photographs taken of the property. The top photo is taken from North Loop Drive, and the bottom photo was taken from Nevares. Here is the aerial showing the vacant lot. It's in this image, it's pretty recent. It's already showing the ground and grading that was being done on the property after the preliminary plat approval and subdivision improvement plan approval. Land uses around the area is still largely vacant. The agricultural land not really being farmed actively. The area just to the north is a mixture of a heavy commercial to light industrial, and that's also true for that bottom or southwest corner. It's a mix of just leftover development from when Socorro was a part of the county, and then the residential to the south. Here is the preliminary plat that was approved. And then the final. Some of the differences between the preliminary and the final plat are the addition of 2 ponding areas, and this was to help accommodate the additional runoff from the future Nuevo Hueco Tanks extension. That would be a great benefit to the city in the future. The lift station didn't change. It stayed in the same location, same size. There are still the same two parks, generally the same location. One of the parks is smaller and the other one is larger. The number of residential lots decreased by 1. And I know that during that initial preliminary plat review, there were a lot of questions regarding how many lots were going to have the variance or require the variance and what percentage. So that did increase. It did increase percentage-wise from 70.8 to 72.8. The percentage of lots that are requiring the variance. So again, this is R2. The minimum lot size would be the 6,000. So 158 lots would fall within that 5,500 and 6,000 lot size. And that is a change, a minor change. Here is a little bit of detail on the road right-of-way dedication. The developer is only required to build their proportionate share. Whatever they are developing, that is what they are responsible for, and that is the area depicted or defined in the green square or green rectangle. This will be built and it will allow connectivity from the neighborhood out onto Nevares to Alameda, and an additional section, the rectangle in red, is what is dedicated for the future development of Nuevo Hueco tanks. It will not be paved over. It will just be left until the city is ready to embark on that project. We are working with Camacho Hernandez, with TxDOT and our partners at the MPO to continue working toward finalizing our design, and the let date for the Nuevo Hueco Tanks extension is April of 2026. And in the aerial, you can see the alignment. It's pretty close to finalized on the edge closest to Alameda, but we're still refining that. And where it sits in the subdivision, where this subdivision sits in the larger picture of the Nuevo Hueco Tanks extension. That connectivity initially will just be from Barbara up At the one connection up here, at the one connection that actually accesses North Loop, and then the connection to Nevares, to Alameda, and the additional connectivity through the south to an existing neighborhood with the street over the lateral. Again, this was from the preliminary to allow for lots between 5,000 and 5,500 and 6,000 square feet. No lots are below that, that size. It's approximately 70% of the total residential lots, and that was the breakdown at the preliminary, and this is what it looks like in the final. With that, staff can answer any questions, if the commission would like to present any questions.
I have a question. When did you say that the city council approved?
City council approved the preliminary plat in January of 2020. January 20th of 2022. I'm going to get confused.
Of 2022.
The Planning and Zoning Commission approved the preliminary plat in October of 2021. The engineer, the applicant, and the city coordinated efforts to align the Nuevo Ecotex extension. They worked on the subdivision improvement plans, and those were approved with these changes in February of 2023. That was prior to me getting here, coordinating that effort. And most recently at City Council, we extended the preliminary plat because it was set to expire.
Okay. And the actual size, from my understanding for city code, is 9,000 square feet?
I'm sorry?
Is it 9,000
It's
square?
6,000 square feet for R2, so all of these residential lots are R2. The minimum is 6,000. Not all of the lots in the subdivision are requesting the variance. As I mentioned, it is more than half. It's 72.8%, 158 lots.
Okay, but this is what these are. I'm talking about standard city throughout.
Oh, it varies. If you wanted to say the majority of lots in Socorro, I'm sure that has changed a lot. But for R1, which is probably the majority of the lots in Socorro, it's 10,000 square feet.
Okay.
I have a question.
Mr. Estrada?
Okay, back in 2021, the roadway, future roadway, it was, I believe it was 4.89 acres of land that was going to be donated to the city of Socorro. Is that still accurate? Is that going to happen still? And has that changed? Has that acreage changed?
No, it hasn't.
It's still the same?
It's still the same.
Okay. And then that lot count right at the top that says 89, the previous slide back in 2021, I think it said 60.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a change there of some lots. Why the difference there? Why are we adding more smaller lots? We went from 89 to 60, closer to the 5,500.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jorge Azcárate with CA Group for the record. To answer your question, Commissioner, is the reason is that if you compare the preliminary plat to the final plat, we added additional ponds.
Okay.
At the time that we were coordinating with City of Socorro through their consultant, Dannenbaum, at that time, the extension of Hueco tanks, they were having a hard time identifying where to drain some of this property. So the developer agreed to go ahead and identify and make some of these ponds a little bit larger to be able to accommodate some of the future runoff, that whenever the roadway comes in, I guess the contractor would actually expand the pond down vertically, not horizontally. But the footprint was already large, so we had to make them larger, which then required us to add additional ponds to accommodate some of our runoff also for the other development. to try to get back to the original number of 219 or 220, which was the original number, we had to make some modifications to the lot sizes so that we can try to get as close as we can. Obviously, we didn't achieve that goal. The best that we were able to get was 216 or 217, I believe. So it's actually 2 lots shorter than what was actually, 2 or 3 lots shorter than what was actually approved on the preliminary plan. So that's the primary reason. We did, and the reason that it took us so longer is what, like Ms. Kimito said, is that we were coordinating with Dannenbaum at that time, the alignment of Old Waco Tanks, or the Nuevo Waco Tanks extension. We had one alignment, they had another alignment, we had to go back and forth, coordinate. We're gonna do part of the roadway, and they couldn't tell us if it's the south side, is it the north side, which side of the roadway. So that delayed us a little bit in trying to figure out what would be the best suitable, that would work also for the city as well as for the developer, and that took a little bit of time to determine what site we were gonna be able to develop.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, a few less lots, going just like 2 or 3 less lots than the
2, 3
original.
lots, correct.
Okay. I'm good.
I have some questions.
So, Ms. Kimito, on the staff report, on top it says final plat, and then at the bottom it says preliminary plat. So,
I'm sorry.
so as a point of reference, is it for the
It's the final.
final? Okay. And then, as part of the backup, that should have been in this report, right?
I'm sorry, I just included it in the presentation. I didn't include it in the backup.
Okay. And then I guess my next question is, was that publicized? Because we have to report per Texas rules where we have to report or put out in public what we're going to vote on or take or present at these meetings. We have to present that on the website before we meet?
So the advertising of the meetings is on the website. It's posted outside of our office and admin. The level of detail of a description, is that what you're meaning for an item?
Well, my question is one is, since we don't have it in our backup, was it included in the public, what was publicized?
What was publicized was the description that's in the agenda. Consider take action on the proposal, and it is the request for the final plat approval and to allow for the variance for the lots smaller than 6,000.
In that documentation, do we have to include the backup? Or this documentation?
No, for the legal, no.
No.
No, that's more for information purposes. What's important for the rules of, Texas Open Meetings Act is the agenda.
Okay,
The agenda and the description that you include for each item.
very good. Okay. I do have a question for Mr. Body. Since this is for a final plat, can we vote against it because it is requesting a variance?
You're saying, can you vote against the final plat and also the variance, or just one or the other, or?
Or I guess, can we vote in favor of it without the variance? Is that possible to do?
Yes, yeah. You can vote to approve the final plat and not agree to the variance. That's up to you.
Can we approve it
Yeah.
with,
So would you say that contradicts what I said at the beginning of the meeting and just reading through the ordinance about Section 38.8 on preliminary plat, the process for approving then the final plat and criteria for approval where minor changes are allowed? Like, I just don't understand what denying the final plat with the and the variance would accomplish.
this Jorge Escarte, number one, I guess what we're indicating is that we are not asking for a variance at this time. A variance was granted by City Council in 2022, January 24th of 2022. A variance was granted. The resolution states that the variance allows for the development of lots of less than 6,000 square foot lots. I mean, and I think Ms. Camilo has the resolution that was issued by City Council, that was approved by City Council. Here, we're going with the final plat, not a variance again. A variance doesn't have to be reissued when council's already taken action on a previous variance that was already granted and approved. I mean, to me, it makes sense, like if you go to, on a building, and if you get a variance on a fire-rated wall at the initial inspection, and then you go to the final inspection, they're expecting you to do another variance for the final inspection of the fire-rated walls. Well, no, I got approved at the preliminary, at the initial, that got approved, you know, with the variance. You don't have to go again for another variance. The final plat is in general conformance to the preliminary plat as stated in 38-9.3 with some minor revisions and the minor revisions does allow for adjustments in streets, alleys, links, paving details, in addition to utility easements, adjustments of lines, and similar minor changes that do not result in the creation of additional lots, which we did not create additional lots. We actually lost lots, 2 to 3. There's a discrepancy, some say 220, some 219, our number's 217 currently. So that's what we're kind of stating, what our position is, that we're here before your body for a final plat, not the variance.
Yeah.
The
Well, let-
variance was approved by City Council in 2022.
Yeah. Can I interrupt you real quick? So I just want to know what the options are. And if I remember correctly, as part of the backup, when it was approved, and this is just to kind of wrap my arms around it, what we can do and what we can't do,
Right.
to kind of get to it really fast. If I remember correctly, the preliminary plat was approved with the table that was originally presented. Now, if the rule is that we can't change it, then we can't change it, and then it's get it over with. But that's where I just want some clarification. Because it's going from one table to the next, which was part of the variance approval, what options do we have as a board? And I'm not saying, hey, let's not approve it.
Right, I understand.
But if that's what's on the table, then I think we need to identify it
Right.
being on the table.
And I think probably, and Ms. Camilo can speak on behalf of the city, but I did go back and look at all the minutes and the videos and all that. You're right, I think P&Z did ask for the table. City Council did not. And if you go back to section 38-9.3, final plat criteria for approval, the final plat conforms to the preliminary plat as approved by City Council.
And how was it approved by City Council? As per
With
staff
the
recommendation, or?
resolution, it just says resolution for lots, to allow lots less than 6,000. No table, no nothing, just, actually, I mean, that says that pretty much we have carte blanche for everything, you know, to make all of them probably less than 6,000. That's not what we're here for. You know, we didn't do that. We still try to keep in the general conformance to what was approved by the preliminary plat.
Was that the case, Ms. Camilo, where City Council approved it without the
That-
table?
That is the resolution,
Okay.
to approve the preliminary plat with the variance for lots smaller
Okay.
than 6,000 square feet.
So just to kind of get through it really quickly. So Mr. Body, just to kind of get to the answer as fast as we can, can we vote, can we approve it without the variance? Can we approve it with or without the variance? Is there any wiggle room, and not saying not to approve it, but if there's no if that's the end of it, then let's make it the end of it.
Yeah, I'll kind of revise, actually. I didn't know some of these facts. I don't know if Jorge could stand back up at the podium there. I just had a quick question. So,
Yes, sir.
Jorge, so you're just asking for a up or down vote then on just on the final plat today? You
Yes.
don't need any language regarding the variance, that's right?
That is correct, because the variance was approved by city council 2 years ago.
Okay.
And the
So,
variance doesn't
yes,
have any
to answer-
expiration dates.
Yeah, so to answer the commission's question then, so then really the variance is actually not on the table. It's just, you need to vote yes in favor of the final plat or no, not in favor. If city council has already approved the preliminary plat and allowed for a variance at that time of lots less than 6,000, it's binding, it's final on the Planning Zoning Commission from back then. And the applicant can rely on that on the final plat. So yes, your only option is you just need to vote yes or no on this one. And they're correct is that the final plat just needs to conform to the preliminary plat. And if the preliminary plat allowed a variance at that time, then that's binding. So
The next question would be then, can we approve it with the new table tied into the development, like we did the last time?
I think it's more of it's a demonstration aid for the purposes of this presentation, but if you approve it, you just approve it wholesale. I mean, if you deny it, if you deny a plat, whether it's preliminary or final, you actually have to go through, it's like one of 12 or 13 reasons on why you deny something. But this doesn't get approved with certain conditions. It's just a approval of final plat. Have they met the requisite conditions? And if planning zoning says that they've turned in their full application, they paid their fees, they met all the criteria, that's really it. There's nothing that attaches with it. Because this addresses, again, the variance, the variance has already been addressed with city council, so there's nothing for the planning zoning to consider on the variance.
Okay.
May I? Okay, my name is Enrique Escobar, I'm the developer, and I would just like to remind Plan Commission and people that were not here when this was approved. The only reason that we have some lots smaller than 6,000 square feet, because the city of Socorro needed to extend Nuevo Hueco tanks. Because the city needed to extend Nuevo Hueco tanks, we cooperated with the city and left what is going to be Nuevo Hueco tanks, I believe it's 7 acres or something like that. I don't remember the amount of land that we're gonna give to the city. That reduced the amount of lots that we were gonna get. So we asked for a variance just to get back to the amount of lots, so we wouldn't be impacted economically. After that, they came back and said, where are we gonna put the water from the road? So we expanded the ponds, and we reduced lots some more. So you have to remember, it's not that we wanted to make the lots smaller, it's the city, we negotiated with the city so we could give you additional roadway. We didn't have to do that. If we didn't do that, we would be 6,000 square feet, and you would never extend Nuevo Hueco Street because you would have a bunch of houses in there. Now you're gonna extend it all the way to Alameda because of the cooperation that we had with the city. So it's not that we tried to make more lots, we just tried to make the amount of lots that we had, okay? So there's nothing being done because we wanted to make more money or more lots or anything else. On the contrary, because we were cooperating with the city. And I will remind you, again, the only thing you're approving here is the final plat. The variance has been approved. The plans were approved. The plans were built. The subdivision is complete. There's no changing it. It's just a formality that we come to you for final plat, and that is all. But we cooperated with the city. So I just want to remember that that is done. So when you extend Nuevo Hueco tanks, and you have it all the way to Alameda, you're not buying more land. You're not tearing down houses. You have the roadway already done.
And the intention of the question is just to, we always have to negotiate with that, and we understand that, and we appreciate that. It's not that we don't want development and buildings coming to Socorro. And I don't know how many times I say that every meeting. But as a civilian board, we have to keep in mind that we used to have a smaller residential footprint that we did away as a city, as a whole. It's a high percentage, and that's what makes it scary, right? So that's where my concern is. But if, and not that the plan is to negate or vote down or plan to vote down a project that's been this far in this, I'm sure you're, what did they say it's going to end, or hopefully it'll be completed in April of 2026. But it's just, I think it's worth mentioning that or keeping that in mind, that it is a lot of lots. It was a lot of lots, and it is a lot of lots. But yeah, just wanted to know what our options were as a commission.
Yeah, I'll kind of add to what Mr. Escobar was saying, because I can kind of back this up with some institutional knowledge. But I was, counsel for the city over 10 years ago when we started the Nuevo Tanks Road project. And I was the attorney actually involved in condemning all the properties all along down the road to build the road, including the properties owned by, Mr. Escobar's, his entities. I know because I sent him actually the demand letters on behalf of the city to him and his company, threatening to condemn the land. So they did at that time actually agree to donate the land. Most of all, actually, the property owners along that road did. And it involved a lot of logistics. They had to donate land, utilities had to be relocated. Ponding areas actually had to be taken out of several other people's lands as well. But they were cooperative. That's what I do. It's just been over 10 years that it's now, I'm kind of recalling, but they did agree to donate the land. They were cooperative in building it. So that I just want to let the commission know that actually did happen. So
I don't have any more questions.
I just have a statement, if I may.
Yes,
For the record, I just want to ask city staff if the final plat as presented today, does it meet the City of Socorro State Local Government Code requirements and design guidelines as stated in their subdivision ordinance?
Yes, it does. And just one correction. The future, when we outline future roadways, a new subdivision does have to coordinate with us and put in the roadway. A future Nuevo Waco Tanks would have gone in, it just wouldn't look like this. And the process, because all the developer would have been required to put in would have been the 60 foot as opposed to the 110 feet that we need for Nuevo Waco Tanks. So that would have prolonged that process. But there are mechanisms where everyone who is developing is contributing their proportionate share.
Yeah, no, and they have to have an entrance, and two entrances, two roadways
Three.
come in, three, okay. And then they have to do the self-ponding on the property.
The ponding,
Okay.
which they exceed.
Just as a point of clarification. Okay. I don't have any questions.
Any questions? I'd like to make a motion to approve and approve for the final plats.
Second.
I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyos to approve and second by David Estrada. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Item number 8, Planning and Zoning Commissioners Report. Nope. Thank you. Item number 9, Planning and Zoning Department Report.
I don't have anything new to report as of last week.
Thank you. Item number 10, consider and take action on the adjournment of this meeting. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyos to adjourn and second by Julie Dominguez. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned at 6:07. Thank you.